You're watching TVC Breakfast. Now, some Lagos residents and motorcycle operators are appealing to the state government to reconsider or at least extend the deadline for ban on commercial motorcycle operations. This comes as the government enforced in 4 more local governments and 6 local council development areas. We have senior correspondent Adedoja Salamadeni visited Alakbere in Aboiketu local council development area to assess the level of compliance. We have this report.
Alakbere is one of the major hubs for commercial motorcycle operators in Lagos State. But on this day of Okada enforcement in the additional 4 local government areas and 6 local council development areas, the streets are empty of the riders. As some of the Okada riders are seen hanging around helplessly, the tricycle operators are busy with passengers.
Business with everything, we all the park, all the run, no park safe. It is all they go like say.
Everything is all right. Yes. So we are seeing some. Yes.
I felt very, very bad, very sad, very weak. Even my landlord now, he spoke to me this morning about house rent. Where will I ask him money to pay house rent? So we beg the Lagos State governor to reconsider his decision. Maybe give us more time so that we go adjust.
I have to check for my house to go and buy food. So I don't think it is a very, very good reason for them to ban Okada because it's very, very stressful.
This latest ban is coming exactly 3 months after Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu ordered a total restriction on Okada in 6 local government areas comprising Etiosa, Surulere, Ikeja, Lagos Island, Lagos Mainland and Apapa in June this year. This brings to a total of 25 councils of the 57 local councils in which Okada activities have been banned. The lingering security challenges bedeviling the country at large is a major reason why Okada is banned in Lagos. Adedoja Salamadeni, TVC News, Lagos.
All right, joining us via Zoom is Lagos State Commissioner for Transportation, Dr. Frederic Oladeinde. It's nice to have you join us, Honorable Commissioner.
Morning. Thank you.
Great. Now, a lot of persons have been asking questions. This is not the first time that Lagos is coming up, mulling the idea of banning Okada in Nigeria, or sorry, in Lagos State. What makes this different at this time?
Okay, just allow me to make a few statements and then I'll try and answer your question. So first of all, Lagos State is about 3,577 kilometers square. That makes it about 0.4% of the whole of Nigeria. It houses over 10% of the Nigerian population. And a lot of people are still coming into Lagos. By 2100, Lagos State will be about 100 million people. And why are people coming to Lagos? People are coming to Lagos because the laws are a bit relaxed, and people will continue to come in and put stress on our infrastructure. Also remember that Okada is not part of our master plan. And why is that? Okada strive in areas where you have rural people coming to the urban area. The whole of Lagos State is urban, and that's why Okada cannot survive in Lagos State. So it's important that I put that down. Now, secondly, okay, we are where we are. We have over 50,000 Okadas in Lagos. The security report we're getting is very alarming. And it's important that we protect lives and properties in Lagos State. Now, if we do not put this ban in place, people will continue to come in. They banned Okada in Zamfara. You can be rest assured that those people are coming to Lagos. They banned them in other areas. They are all coming to Lagos. There must be a push factor that restrain people from coming to Lagos. Lagos is not a dumping ground for Okadas. Lagos is not a dumping ground or a place where we can feed the whole of West Africa. We have people from Chad, we have people from Sudan, we have people from Niger, etc., coming to Lagos to ride Okada. So we must protect our people. Also remember that we had a stakeholder on the 18th of August 2022, and the whole of Lagos were adamant that we ban Okada because their lives, are no longer secure. So we have spoken to the people, we have listened to the people, and this is what the people want. As long as people continue to come into Lagos, the transport infrastructure will never be enough. There will be gaps, and people will continue to say that, okay, government should provide this before we ban Okada. There will never be a good time to actually ban Okada, and so the time is now. The security report is alarming, and we have to act now to protect our people and to protect Lagos State.
All right, as much as you want to protect the people of Lagos State, there's also the aspect of the state of roads in certain areas that are not motorable. And that has also come to question, how do we bridge the gap? How do we ensure that these persons are not cut off from the plans Lagos State has?
So that's a good question. So I said that Lagos State is swamped with a lot of people, a lot of cars coming in, and that's why our infrastructure is overstretched. So when you look at what is going on in Lagos, we have over 100 projects going on. PwC are fixing roads, but as we fix roads, there are more people, there are more cars, and so where do you stop? So Lagos has to put a brake somewhere so that the infrastructure that we build will be adequate for the people that we need to be in Lagos. So we are fixing the roads, but it seems like we're not fixing those roads because there's so many people. You go to our borders, the lorries are full of people coming into Lagos. Lagos seems to be the safe haven for a lot of people. So we must put a stop there and continue to develop our infrastructure. We're developing our rail, we're developing our water infrastructure. We're putting more buses on the road. We're developing an integrated multimodal transport system. We're integrating them in such a way that it becomes seamless and it becomes attractive for people to use. But when you have more people coming in all the time, it will never be enough. And so we will continue to talk about the bad roads. We'll continue to talk about the bad infrastructure because we're overwhelmed and we have to put a brake. So there must be a push factor just to make sure that Lagos sends a message that it is not a dumping ground for people who are unemployed across West Africa.
Well, you raised a crucial point.
One thing I can assure you is that we are fixing those roads. PwC are there day and night. We are adding more infrastructures to Lagos State just to make sure that Lagos State continues to be a smart city, a city that's livable, and then a city that attracts investors to come and then create more jobs.
Dr. Oladeinde, you raised a crucial point earlier about the sheer number of commercial motorcycles in Lagos and the fact that Lagos continues to remain a major attraction for many Nigerians who live elsewhere. So we have a daily influx of Nigerians and even foreigners who come into the country, into the country's commercial capital. But then how are we tracking these people? So we have so many people who depend on this this business as their means of livelihood, but now that they've been cut off, so to speak, what is the state doing with them? There does appear to be a foundational challenge of tracking the number of people who live in Lagos. So how do we, curtail this as a security risk?
Okay, so that's why the government launched what we call the lateral card, so that we can register all the people in Lagos, and then we can know the people who live in Lagos, and then we can know the people that we cater for. So there's the lateral card project that Lagos State is implementing. Secondly, Lagos State has a lot of programs for Lagosians or people who we feel deserve to live in Lagos. So for example, we have the WAPA program, where we trained over 5,000 artisans in the past 2 years. We have the Wealth Creation Program, where we are doing a lot of internship programs, and we're training a lot of people, giving them technical skills. We have the Agric program, where we're training people to farm, and then we're giving them land And we have the Lagos State Employment Trust Fund where we give people loans to set up small businesses. So there's a lot of programs that people can get involved in. Now, let me even ask you a question. So I come into Lagos at a very early age. I began to drive Okada at the age of 40, 45. I developed no skills. Are you going to drive Okada when you're 60, 70? What happens to that person when he gets to the age where he's supposed to utilize his skills to actually put food on the table? So it is not a sustainable profession. It is not something that we want to encourage people to pick up. We have a lot of artisan jobs that we have lost in Nigeria in particular. And then each time we build our infrastructure, we go to Togo, we go to Republic of Benin to find these artisans to actually come into Lagos and then help us to do these jobs. These jobs are available for Lagosians, they are available for Nigerians, and I would encourage Lagosians to actually pick up these trainings and then so that they can pick up skills that are sustainable, that can sustain them to when they're 60, 70, etc. You're not going to ride Okada when you're 60 or 70. And then let's look at the accident rate and the crime rate. A lot of our young people are being killed. A lot of them are lame. They're being, caught short. And we have to put a stop to it. This is government. And government has to protect its people. And that's what we're doing.
All right. You talked about the transportation master plan earlier on when you started. Can you share with us what this master plan is to help Lagosians have a buy-in into the program that you're coming up with, especially in transportation in Lagos?
Thank you. So the Transportation Master Plan is a plan that it has a vision of developing a multimodal integrated transport system for Lagos. So basically what we want to do is give people options rather than people being captive to their cars or maybe being captive to downfall. So it consists of 7 railway lines because Lagos State is a mega city, and so we have to develop a railway network so that we can move people en masse from one point to the other. It has 40 BLT, of which we've developed 3. We have over 26 water routes, and we also have major ring roads and major roads that we need to connect communities. So, for example, we're developing the blue line at the moment and the red line. The blue line is from Marina to Kukumaiko that would serve the people along the Badagry corridor. We have the red line from Marina all the way to Agbado that will serve the people along Agege, Ikeja, Urushoki, etc. And then very soon we'll embark on the green line, which is from Marina all the way to Lekki Free Trade Zone, and that will take care of the people in Lekki. So you can see that we've taken care of the 3 spines of Lagos. And then we have other lines such as the purple line from Redeem going all the way to Ojo, the yellow line from Ota all the way to National Theatre. We have the orange line from Ikeja to Agbowa Ikorodu, taking care of the Ikorodu community. And then we have the monorail, which orbits Ikoyi, Victoria Island, and Lekki Phase 1. And you can see that once we are able to put this rail line together, we will be able to move people en masse from one point to the other. That will reduce congestion drastically. So the vision is to develop a multimodal public transport system that will mop up this mass number of people from one point to the other. We generate about 26 million trips per day. That is set to go up to over 50 million in the next 2 decades. And we can't, Okada is not going to solve that problem. Driving our cars is not going to solve that problem. The only thing that's going to solve that problem is developing a robust public transport that can move people en masse from one point to the other. So the Strategic Transport Master Plan consists of 7 rail lines, 14 BLTs, that's bus rapid transit, a modification of our bus system. So we're moving our bus system from the unregulated to the regulated, and that's why you can see all these blue buses. So we want to move away from these smaller buses on the main road to larger buses that can take 70 to 100 people at once. And then we then restrict the smaller buses to the inner roads. And that's where we have the last mile that brings people from their community to the main road. And then they can then join the BLT or join the rail, etc. And then we're tying all this together using technology. And that's why we launched the carry card about 2 years ago, and that carry card allows you to use. I mean, you can use that carry card on any of the modes that we provide in Lagos, and so you don't have to pay for each mode individually. So with that card, you can ride on your. I mean, you can use water transportation, you can ride on BLT, you can use the rail when it comes on board, etc. And it makes it simpler, easier for people to move from one point to the other. So we're trying to make life easier for the people of Lagos State. We're trying to make Lagos State a livable city. We're trying to make it a world-class city. It's a smart city, and it's a mega city, most importantly. And it's not a dumping ground for people who have nothing to do. And that's why we must protect Lagos State. Lagos State is an asset to Nigeria. Right. So when you look at what is happening in Lagos, so for example, farmers in the north, 60% of their products come to Lagos State, where it's consumed. Everybody that manufactures something around Nigeria, the product ends up in Lagos. So Lagos is an asset, a national asset that has to be protected, and that's what we're doing.
Right. Now, as much as Lagos is a national asset that has to be protected, quickly talk to us about data. Do we have data on how much impact the Okada has had on, when we talk about insecurity within Lagos State? Do we have data on that? And the enforcement, do we have data on how far it has reduced crime rate and all of it? If you could share that with us for Lagosians who are watching to really understand why government wants to make Lagos State comfortable for them.
So when you look at the first 6 local government where we banned Okada, that was on the 1st of June. So between the 1st of June and the 1st of August 2022, we had a significant reduction in accident rate. The accident rate actually went down by 64%, and then crime rate actually went down by 86%. So these are data that we got from the police force, from the Commissioner for Police, and then from our hospitals, as well as LASMA and FRSD, all the people that are involved in the enforcement program. So we've accumulated this data, and there was a significant drop. Petty crime rate, that is in congestion, dropped drastically, and so the government, we set up a stakeholder meeting. We talked about the impact. We showed them the data, and the whole of Lagos then said that, look, we need to ban Okada in the whole of Lagos. But the government is very careful in banning Okada straight away across the whole of Lagos. We're taking them in phases so that we can provide adequately for these areas. So we started with the first 6. We provided first and last mile buses. We increased the BLT fleet. We increased the basic transport mode fleet. We have the lag ride, which I think there are about 500 lag rides. That's another option for Lagosians. And with this lag ride, people can actually share this ride. So you can have 3 people ride in a cab, and it becomes very cheap. It's almost the same price as taking BLT or taking your bus, your normal bus service. We have tried to connect our water transport system. So we're developing 16 terminals at the moment. We're connecting them with the first and last mile, and we're connecting them with good roads so that these first and last mile can get to the terminals. So we're providing a lot in phases, just to make sure that the people of Lagos, they do not suffer. And that's why we started with 6. We moved on to another 4, and then once we are able to provide for them adequately, we'll then move to another 5, and then eventually we'll then have a total ban in Lagos State.
So, Dr. Oladeinde, you've spoken about the master plan, where Lagos is now, where the state is headed. But a reflection of what you've said about the impact of Okada operations on accidents in the state, people have also, retorted in response that there are other, road accidents that are induced by other modes of road transport, cars, commercial buses and the like. So where is what is the picture now of this master plan where these other modes of transportation are? Because people have said even the fact that you stand now, having to stand waiting for a bus, waiting for a keke, might also, you know, expose one to crime, depending on the time when you come out looking for these options.
So Lagos has embarked on what we call the Smart City Initiative, where we're laying over 3,000 kilometers of fiber optic. We are connecting all our networks with what you call smart cameras. So we have 2,000 cameras, which we are about to locate in every key point of Lagos, so that we can begin to monitor what is happening in our cities, etc. And then what we're trying to do is to use technology to enforce the traffic law also, so that we remove physical interaction. Secondly, when you look at the program that the Ministry of Transportation has embarked on, so there's a lot of road marking going on, there's a lot of curb construction, there's a lot of roundabouts that are being removed, etc., just to make our network better, to increase the capacity. So there's a lot of program, and we're working with the FRSC, etc., in implementing some of our road safety program. But when you look at the accident that happens with other modes of transport, Okada is the most dangerous, because you're not protected, you're not in the car, you're exposed, and in most cases, I mean, you're more likely to die having an Okada accident than having a road accident. And it's important that we deal with that. So we have our road safety program in place, just to make Lagos safer, and that's why public transport is very important in Lagos. Also, there's the non-motorized transport master plan, which Lagos State has implemented, where we're beginning to develop a road where, you know, like pedestrian walkways, cycling, and with Okada, etc., on the road. I mean, you can't really develop this infrastructure, because they will just simply you know, swallow the whole thing, and nobody feels safe to walk on our roads anymore. I remember when I was a young boy, I used to, when I was in primary school, I used to walk from Lagosians all the way to Surulere. Nobody does that anymore. Obesity is on the rise. You go to our hospitals, I mean, the respiratory illness is on the rise, etc. And Lagos it has to put a stop to it, and that's why Okada, two-stroke engine, etc., has to be banned. We're moving from petrol to CNG. So Lamata at the moment is piloting CNG buses, and then eventually we'll start looking at electric buses. So there's a lot of things that are happening in Lagos, just to make sure that we make Lagos State livable, and we make it a smart city and as safe as possible. So there are about 1,000 cameras put in place, and so that we can protect the people of Lagos State.
All right. Let's talk about, just in about a minute, let's talk about the issue of tricycles, the one they call Keke Marwa. One would say that is not too different from the Okada business as well. What is the plan for that? Is there going to be a ban sometime soon also on the Keke Marwa?
So the Keke Marwa has a function, so they can actually go into the inner community and then bring people out. We're streamlining them. We have started a program where we would go to all these garages and then make sure that these guys behave and they're streamlined, so they can complement the first and last mile, etc. But if we feel that one thing is certain, we would regulate them, and then we only need a certain number of them. But once they get to that cutoff point, obviously we'll be stopping more Keke and Marwa from joining the fleet. But they have a function right now, that they have a role to play. They take people into the inner communities, and then they can bring them out, so that they can complement the first and last mile, they can complement the BLT, they can complement the transport infrastructure that we're putting in place.
Right. Now, let's look at enforcement. There are those who believe that as laudable as the plan for Lagos State is, enforcement of traffic laws is also very important. And so are saying that some of these persons who are meant to enforce the laws are complicit in the situation that we have found ourselves that had led to the ban of the Okada. What do you say to that?
So I think you're right. So I think the police are doing a yeoman's job. The police are enforcing the Okada ban as well as doing other stuff, preventing crimes. And so the strategy that Lagos State has deployed is to set up what we call the anti-Okada squad. And these people complement the police, they complement the task force and other enforcement agencies on our road. And what they do is they dig up in intelligence, where these Okadas being manufactured, how can we prevent the Okadas from going to petrol stations so that they fuel them up, things like that. So the anti-Okada squad has been very successful in the 6 local governments and 9 LCDs that we first implemented the ban, and we're extending that to the other 4 local government and 6 LCDs also. So we'll continue to employ more anti-Okada personnel, and that's also a form of employment for our people in Lagos State.
Tell us what day 1 of this fresh ban was like. Of course, residents have been told that not only will the riders, be, found to be prosecuted if they are found to flout the law, so also will the passenger also be prosecuted. So what was day 1 like on Thursday?
So the first day, the compliance was very high. It's usually, when you have a ban of such, magnitude, the first day, second day is always good. And then when they see that there's no security, etc., then people begin to come up. So yesterday was actually very good. Today also we're on the watch out. We have our task force, we have the police. We're training most of the anti-Okada squad that would now fill those areas are about to graduate from their training school, because we do train these people. We don't just employ people and then just put them on the road. They have to behave and conduct themselves in a proper manner. So we're watching. It's very good at the moment, and we'll continue to watch that.
All right. The master plan you mentioned earlier carries a lot of weight on the issue of rail transport. Share with us, how soon will this the blue and the red line, when they are going to come upstream for people to start benefiting or using them, as the case may be?
So you'll have noticed that every quarter or monthly sometimes, the governor goes and inspects the blue line and the red line just to make sure that we're on schedule. So we plan to finish the infrastructure of the blue line by the end of this year, and then we'll start passenger operation by the first quarter of 2023. Likewise, the red line. So we're on target to ensure that Lagosians will see passenger operations in the first quarter of 2023, and that still stands.
Right. Now, let's look at the aspect of the ban. Talking about insecurity, there are those who think that perhaps the government could have fished out those who were carrying out criminal activities instead of having a total ban on the Okada.
Look, whichever way you look at it, we cannot continue to have the influx of people of that magnitude. The police will be overwhelmed. First of all, put that push factor there, and then let's deal with what is left in Lagos State. So I think we've done what is appropriate. We can't continue to fish millions of people. How many police personnel do we have in Nigeria, talk less of in Lagos? So it makes sense to put that push factor. Let's make it difficult for crime to be perpetrated in Lagos. By putting that ban in place, and then we deal with the other crimes that are in Lagos. So it's the most reasonable thing for a government to do. And so just simply allowing them in and then trying to fish all of them out, that's a lot of work. And it's a waste of, there are a lot of things that police do in Lagos to protect us, to make Lagos a stable city. And it just makes sense for us to put that push factor so that we prevent a crime happening in Lagos rather than let it happen and then begin to find the people and then, trying to fish them out. So I think what the government is doing is, it's not out of place at all.
Dr. Oladeinde, we had, also in the news while tracking days before the takeoff of the fresh ban, a group of protesters who stormed Lagos House. They claimed to be members of the Okada Association from a particular axis. Also giving some sense that maybe there wasn't enough engagement. How is the state government dealing with that? You've also spoken about options that, these people can also explore in the state beyond the Okada business that has now been truncated. So how do people, interested residents, access those opportunities?
So, we have phone numbers. When people go to those ministries, they will be attended to. So it's not for special kind of people. You talked about the protest about 3 days ago. We sat down with the leaders and we made it clear to them that there's no going back on Okada. And so we asked them to submit the list of their members, let them know those who are riding Okada legitimately, and then let's begin to provide for them. And we are, we are asking other Lagosians who are affected by this to call in, to go to the Ministry of, to go to WAPA, to go to Wealth Creation, or any of these MDAs that we have listed, submit their name, and then we'll see how we can slot them into a program. So it's a program that is open to all Lagosians, people that live in Lagos, and so let's just let them just go to the appropriate ministries, and then they'll be dealt with.
All right. There was a time Lagos State government moved to start work on the 4th mainland bridge, and a lot of Lagosians were quite excited at getting that information that time. What is the update about that now? Has Lagos State jettisoned the idea of a 4th mainland bridge?
Ever. The 4th mainland bridge is as strong as ever. We have finished the appraisal. We are now talking to interested investors. We're just finalizing the details, and the 4th mainland bridge will go ahead. I can assure you that.
Now, there are those who say that they are not commercial riders and have this Okadas for their personal use. Where do they come in the mix of all of this plan?
So there's a rule, there's a law that says that you can't ride a bike that is less than 200 cc. And then secondly, for those kind of bikes, there's a license that you get. It's called the rider's card or Class A license, depending on where you go. And so we issue those permits, and as long as you're not carrying passengers, etc., I don't think that should be a problem. So there is a license for those who have private bikes, bikes that are not used for Okada, etc. And once you get the required permits and license, I think you should be fine.
All right, but for specifics, I think you just touched it lightly earlier. I asked a question about the future of commercial buses. There does remain some concerns about security. You alluded to the creation of cameras here and there across the state, but eventually moving forward, what's the plan for commercial buses?
So there's a reform going on in Lagos. It's called the bus reform. And what we're doing is we're asking commercial drivers to form a cooperative, and so that we can then franchise routes to them. So Lamata is responsible for that program. We have over 30 routes that we've franchised, so we're doing it gradually. Eventually, we'll begin to reform the yellow buses, and then we'll then bring in more blue buses, but they'll be in the form of a cooperative, and then they'll be able to be regulated by Lamata, and then so that we can get more information, more data, and then the people that ride our commercial buses can be safer. They'll be safer because most of these buses are coming with cameras. Most of these buses are, with the carry card and the validators. We're collecting more data on the kind of trips that people make. And with the information that we're receiving, so we know where people are coming from, where they're going to, and then we can then provide the adequate infrastructure to cater for the volume of traffic in any particular direction. So, and that's the importance of moving from the unregulated to the regulated. So we're regulating and we're reforming the bus system in such a way that it's, you have information on every bus. You know when the buses are coming. You know the operator who is operating this particular bus. And so, for example, if you leave your bag in a particular bus, we can track it down because we'll be able to track the bus. And that's where the smart city initiative comes in, the cameras, etc., and then the intelligent transport system that we're deploying, just to make sure that our bus system is much more effective and efficient. So in trying to move from the unregulated to a regulated system, we're making Lagos State much more safer, we're making it smarter, and we're making it very difficult for people to commit a crime. And that's where I feel that Lagos State should, be headed.
Right. Now, with this ban in some local governments and some local LCDAs, there is going to be a move of the Okada riders to areas where the ban hasn't kicked off yet. And they will choke the place for a meantime, create some level of congestion. But talk to us basically, what is the time frame for a total ban across Lagos in such a way that it is comprehensive and it could be exclusive?
Well, this information is dynamic. It could be end of the year, or it could be end of next year. We will monitor what is happening with what we're doing right now, and then we'll make a decision based on the information that comes in. So it's not absolute yet, but it will definitely happen.
Right. Let's perhaps look at the aspect of punishment for those who are found culpable to have flouted this ban, so to speak. We have a 3-year jail term for both the rider and the passenger. Why so?
Well, so when you look at what Okada, what they do to people, so a lot of Okada take one way, they break the traffic law, so they break our traffic lights, like they jump traffic lights, excuse me. And so they make it difficult for other people to drive, and they make it easy for you, who have no intention of killing anybody, to just have an accident with Okadas. And then once you have an accident with one of them, all of them will then come on you. And then, God help you if you can leave that place alive. So we must make that punishment, very punitive, so that we prevent such accidents from occurring. We must protect the people who are driving, who are going on there, going by innocently, and then all of a sudden, because an Okada person does not obey the law, rams into them, and then they now become the victim. So there must be punitive measures to protect our people. People who encourage Okadas to take one way should be punished. Okadas who are taking one way are putting other people's life in danger. So other people can lose their life as a result of their action. So I don't think 3 years is stringent at all. I think it's even lenient if you leave it to me. But we must protect our people. We must make Lagos a safe place to live, and we must make Lagos State enjoyable. Right now, it's a bit of a nightmare, especially where you have Okada, because you're scared to hit them. You don't know what's, who's, coming at you. You don't know what they're carrying. And then once you hit them, the whole mob comes, and then you become a victim. So I think it's the right thing. The law is not too stringent. It's there to deter people and to deter passengers from encouraging riders to even take one way. That's even more important. You find situations where the passenger themselves are the ones that instigate the rider to take one way. Why would you want to do that? And so we must bring law and order back into Lagos, and that's important. So I wouldn't worry too much about the 3-year jail sentence. It's there to deter you. If you don't want to go to jail for 3 years, then don't do it.
Right,
And
so
that's important.
Dr. Oladeinde, let's also, look at the sustainability of this master plan, of this enforcement by the Lagos State government and its partners. Because come to think of it, except if I'm wrong, the law wasn't recently enacted. It's been in place for a number of years. During the COVID time, we also saw a semblance of the law being enforced, and then things returned to the way it was now. But with your talk, your insistence on and clamor for maintaining law and order in the state, some have also wondered whether the government has the political will now to see this through.
I think we do, and you can see that in the amount of the investment that we're putting into ensuring that we sustain this ban. So I said to you initially that we have inaugurated what we call the anti-Okada squad. It's not, it's a very expensive project. And the most important thing is that the crime rate, the accident rate is costing Lagos State more than ever. And it has to stop. When you go to our hospitals are full of people with broken limbs or, Okada-related illness. And so people with genuine illness are finding it hard to even go into our hospitals because the whole place is filled up. And so if you can prevent something, why don't you do that? It's cheaper to actually prevent than to start dealing with the situation when it comes. And that's what Lagos State is doing. And that's why the ban on Okada now, it's actually a political will. There's an election around the corner. People are saying, does the government have the political will? Yes, it does. So the election doesn't matter. It's the lives of people, the lives and property that matters to government, because that's the responsibility of the government, to make sure that people are safe, to make sure that their properties are safe, and to make sure that people can sleep with both their eyes closed. And that's what government does. And that's what we're simply doing. So we're we will see this through. There's no letting off. And we will continue to ensure that the people of Lagos State enjoy the democracy, the power that they've given us to actually govern them through this administration.
All right. We have to leave you here now. Dr. Frederic Oladeinde, the Lagos State Commissioner for Transportation. Thank you so much for talking to us right now. We hope that as time goes on, of course, we'll have a forum like this to share with Lagosians what you're doing and all the feedbacks as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.